I think we're in a non-essential bubble where everything seems important. So, of course, nothing is. Greg McKeown. Well, my friends, the beautiful thing about any kind of bubble, non-essential or essential, is that we see it in the charts. We see price movement, which is reality. It's not what you necessarily hear on the news. It's not necessarily what you read in the financial press. Look at the charts. You can search commodities. You can search oil, wheat, sugar. You can search gold. You can get into stocks. You can search individual stocks, the broad market. You can search and see what's actually going on with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. You name it. If it exists in this physical world, you can get some idea as to its value and what it is doing at the moment. And the way you get that is by developing charting knowledge and then being able to see it in real time on these charts. That's what's so beautiful. That's what excites me about every single thing I do each and every day in the market is its reality. It's what's really happening. And it is indeed fascinating. Here's a good one for you. Markets are down for the day. That is stocks and bonds. Gold is up. Bitcoin is down. Now, let's look at what we see happening though in our Heikin-Ashi candlesticks. If you haven't taken our Heikin-Ashi candlestick training, in fact, I'm going to stick it at the end of today's training just for those of you who have not taken it in the past. I want you to see it, to start understanding what it is indeed all about. And I'll stick that here. But you can see the candle that's drawing, even though the S&P was down 0.03%, we have a green up candle. We had a green spinning top this last week. Price percent oscillators heading up. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. We'll see more as we get deeper, but this is 1 day of a 5-day candle. We go to the 2-day. What do we see there? Well, we can see that we're moving along into drawing a second up candle. Now, if I move the 2-day vertical crossover away, you can see that we did touch higher during the day. The high so far this week with 1 day in, 446.46. Last week, the high, 444.86. So we did hit a higher high during the course of the day. We see that the price percent oscillator is heading up, derivative oscillator gaining momentum. Now we delve a little deeper into the intraday. You can see where things bounded up in the morning and then pulled back some in the afternoon according to the Heikin-Ashi candlestick. So what did that do? Well, it kept that momentum going in the upward direction, even though the markets were down a little bit for the day. What's so beautiful about those Heikin-Ashi candlesticks is they help us to see average pace. That's the way they're set up. They are structured different, not the high open, low close. And that training at the end of today's video will help you understand just what that's all about. It is the most popular video we've done. It's probably the most popular on Heikin-Ashi candlesticks on the web. So enjoy. What about the NASDAQ 100? Very similar. Price percent oscillator heading up. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum 2-day. Again, we had that 2-day crossover going up, not a recross because it's in the opposite direction of the weekly, just like the S&P. Green up candle, half day. We can see there's a slowdown in the up movement in the Qs, the NASDAQ 100. It was down 0.40%, not 0.03%. So it was down more than the S&P. Hence, we have this red open box candle, slowdown in the down movement, red spinning top at the end of the day, pushing through that half-day trend line, losing a little bit of energy. Derivative oscillator, I'd say powering down a little bit. That's where we are on the two indexes that we look at, big baskets of stocks. Now we're going to move from that to bonds. Bonds really hammering down, 2.32%. We see the price percent oscillator clicking over, going down, derivative oscillator heading down, and a big down candle forming. The low last week was 130.32. So far this week, even lower, 129.75. We look at the 2-day, and of course, red down candle forming, moving down that trend line. Price percent oscillator spiking over a little bit. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Half day down in the morning, further down in the afternoon, crossing over at the end of the day. And we will redraw our trend line to note that. Again, everything we do here is for visual acuity so we can see what's going on and get a good grasp for, as you look at these ever broadening down movements, you can see the weekly, the 2-day, and the half day just gaining downward momentum. So that is where we are on bonds. What about gold? Well, gold popping up a little bit. Now you look at this weekly chart, doesn't look like that, but up for the day, 0.76%. Red down candle forming. Price percent oscillator is a little more than flat. Derivative oscillator still losing momentum, oscillating down. We see on the 2-day where things really hammered down on the 2-day candle last week, 15th and 16th of March, and then losing some of that down movement. Then we can see sort of that regaining on the first day of the latest 2-day candle, but it did push above that prior 2-day trend line. Price percent oscillator heading down, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. We look at the half day and we can see lots of indecision in the morning with gold trying to push up in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator flat, derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. So we'll keep an eye on gold, see where it is headed. Of course, this crossover that we had last week didn't change our, there we go. Didn't change our trend line, and let's go ahead and make sure that we also change, that's not a trend line I changed, that was a vertical crossover. Let's make sure we change the candle too, and I'll make sure to save that on the charts. So that is where we are on the 2-day, and that is where we are on the half day and the weekly. So gold still has downward pressure on that short, medium-term chart, and we look at the overall mood in gold. Of course, we've punched through as this week starts. That and that is really the reason that you see that Heiken Ashi candlestick showing you your average pace punched through that weekly trend line. So we'll continue to watch on gold. A lot in flux there as the 2-day's heading down. Weekly still heading up. We're not in a gold trade now. We're waiting for that to sort itself out. Lastly, we go to Bitcoin. Now, depending on where you look on Bitcoin, which exchanges and all, you can see Grayscale Bitcoin down 3.52%. We look at our Bitcoin futures. We can see ranging anywhere from 2.14, 2.19 to 2.08. XBTF is the one I tend to trade. It is an ETF. It's a futures ETF on Bitcoin. I like that because I can actually go through the market and purchase that. Very liquid, easy to buy and sell. And if you have a no-cost broker, of course, it doesn't cost you anything getting in and out. So let's, though, look at the New York Stock Exchange Bitcoin Index. What do we see? Well, we see things sliding sideways. Price percent oscillator still negative, derivative oscillator going positive. Let's take a look at what we see on XBTF. About the same thing there. Even though down for the day a couple of percent, we nonetheless see the slide trying to head up. And the price percent oscillator edging ever closer to the signal line. The derivative oscillator turning green for the first time. Now that should be getting all you Bitcoin fans excited. On the 2-day chart, going into the second green up candle, we see the price percent oscillator heading up, derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. And this is where I'm going to switch back over to the futures chart since we get intraday movement there. You can see where we had that big bump up on Friday, and that's sort of what has carried us over some. Lots of indecision in the morning, down some in the afternoon. So we'll continue to keep an eye on Bitcoin. It's exciting to see, particularly on the big chart, as that price percent oscillator getting closer. Will we have a weekly vertical crossover this week? We look back in time. They have done us well in the past. We shall see. Hang tight. Enjoy the ride. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.